Did you know that the War of 1812 is sometimes called America's Second War of Independence? It might sound a bit dramatic, but for the young United States, it truly felt that way. This wasn't a war fought over ancient grudges or vast new territories, at least not at first. Instead, it started on the high seas. Imagine being an American sailor, minding your own business on a merchant ship, only to be stopped by the mighty British Royal Navy. They would board your vessel and, claiming you were a British deserter, force you into their service. This practice was called impressment, and it was essentially a form of kidnapping that infuriated Americans and made them feel disrespected by their old colonial masters. The British were busy fighting a massive war against Napoleon Bonaparte in Europe, and they needed every sailor they could get. President James Madison, a quiet and scholarly man, found himself pushed into a corner. So in June of 1812, the United States declared war on Great Britain, the most powerful empire in the world. The war was fought across a surprisingly vast area, turning into a series of chaotic and often desperate struggles. American leaders confidently believed that capturing Canada would be a mere matter of marching. They were wrong. The British, aided by Canadian militia and their crucial Native American allies, led by the brilliant Shawnee chief Tecumseh, pushed the Americans back time and time again. By 1814, Britain had finally defeated Napoleon in Europe. This freed up thousands of veteran troops to deal with the troublesome Americans once and for all. In August 1814, British forces marched on the capital and set fire to the city's most important public buildings. It was a moment of absolute humiliation for the United States. As the British soldiers advanced on the president's house, most people were fleeing for their lives. But one person stayed behind, the First Lady, Dolly Madison. She refused to leave until she had saved a famous portrait of George Washington, making her a national icon of American resilience. A young American lawyer named Francis Scott Key watched the British bombard Fort McHenry for 25 long hours, seeing the fort's huge American flag illuminated by rockets' red glare. When dawn broke, the flag was still there, waving proudly. He was so moved that he wrote a poem that became our national anthem, the Star-Spangled Banner. In the South, a tough, hot-tempered general from Tennessee named Andrew Jackson, known as Old Hickory, was ordered to defend New Orleans from a British invasion. His motley army was a mix of regular soldiers, frontier militia, free African Americans, Choctaw warriors, and even pirates led by Jean Lafitte. On January 8, 1815, the British launched a massive frontal assault. The result was a stunning catastrophe for the British. In less than an hour, the British suffered over 2,000 casualties, while Americans suffered fewer than 100. It turned Andrew Jackson into a superstar and eventually propelled him to the presidency. Here's the most surprising fact about the Battle of New Orleans. It was fought after the war was already over. Nobody knew that diplomats had signed a peace treaty 2 weeks earlier on Christmas Eve. If only a ship had been able to cross the Atlantic faster, thousands of lives would have been spared. So if nothing changed, why does the war matter? For the United States, it changed everything. The war created a powerful new sense of national identity and unity. Americans had stood up to the world's greatest superpower and survived. It proved to the world, and more importantly, to Americans themselves, that the United States was here to stay. The War of 1812 was the final act that secured American independence and set the stage for a new relationship between two great English-speaking powers.